Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kika here. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not always going to be doing these boring book readings to you guys. It's just that I barely started YouTube, so I thought that it would be a good way to ease into it since I've never really done these types of videos or any video. So yeah, I thought it would be a lot easier to edit and put together at the beginning, but rest assured that in the near future I will be posting a lot more interesting and creative ASMR videos for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Brainmaker by David Perlmutter with Kristen Lundberg. The power of microbes to heal and protect your brain for life. Bug alert, you've got company. Several times a week throughout my career, I've had to tell a patient or caregiver that there's nothing left in my arsenal to treat a grave neurological disease will inevitably shatter the patient's life. I've surrendered because the illness gained too much control and no quick fix or drug existed to even decelerate the swift march of the affliction to the end. It's a heart-wrenching place to be, one that you just don't get used to, no matter how many times you go through it. What gives me hope, however, is a burgeoning area of study that's finally affording me revolutionary approaches to revealing the suffering. Brainmaker is about this dazzling new science and how you can take advantage of it for your own health. Take a moment to think about how much has changed in our world over the past century, thanks to medical research. No longer do we worry about dying from smallpox, dysentery, diphtheria, chlorea, or scarlet fever. We've made huge strides in lowering the death rates of many life-threatening maladies, including HIVs, AIDS, some form of cancer, and heart disease. But when you consider brain-related diseases and disorders, the picture is vastly different. Advances in preventing, treating, and curing deliberately neurological ailments across the life cycle, from autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, known as ADHD, to migraines, depression, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's, are virtually non-existent. And sadly, we are quickly losing ground as the incidence of these conditions are increasing in our society. Let's consider a few numbers. In the 10 wealthiest Western nations, death from brain disease is general, which largely affects death from dementia, has risen dramatically over the past 20 years, and the United States leads the way. In fact, a 2013 British report showed that since 1979, death due to brain disease increased a breathtaking 66% in men and 92% in women in America. And in the words of the study's lead author, Professor Colin Pritchard, quote, "These statistics are about real people and families, and we need to recognize that there is an epidemic that clearly is influenced by environmental and social changes," end quote. The researchers also noted how this surge, which is affecting people at younger and younger ages, is in sharp contrast to the major reductions in risk of death from all other causes. In 2013, the New England Journal of Medicine published a report revealing that we spend about $50,000 annually caring for each dementia patient in this country. That amounts to approximately $200 billion a year, twice what we spend on caring for heart disease patients, and almost triple what we spend on treating for cancer patients. Mood and anxiety disorders are also on the upswing and can be equally as crippling to quality of life as other neurological conditions. About 1 in 4 adults in the U.S., more than 26% of the population, suffers from diagnosable mental disorder. Anxiety disorders afflict more than 40 million Americans, and nearly 10% of the U.S. adult population has a mood disorder, for which powerful drugs are prescribed. Depression, which affects 1 in 10 of us, including a quarter of women in their 40s and 50s, is now the leading cause of disability worldwide, and diagnoses are growing at a startling rate. Medications like Prozac and Zoloft are among the most often prescribed drugs in the nation. Mind you, these drugs treat symptoms of depression, not the causes, which are flagrantly ignored. On average, people with severe mental illness, such as a bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, die 25 years earlier than the general population. This is partially due to the fact that these individuals are more likely to smoke, abuse alcohol and drugs, and be overweight with obesity-related illnesses in addition to their mental challenges. Headaches, including migraines, are among the most common disorders of the nervous system. Nearly half of the adult population wrestles with at least one headache per month, and they are more than an inconvenience. They are associated with disability, personal suffering, damaged quality of life, and financial cost. We tend to think of headaches as being an expensive nuisance, especially since many drugs that treat them are relatively cheap and easy to access, such as aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen. But according to the National Pain Foundation, they cost more than 160 million lost workdays each year in the US and result in about 30 billion a year in medical expenses. Multiple sclerosis, a disabling autoimmune disease that disrupts the nervous system's ability to communicate, now affects an estimated 2.5 million people worldwide, with close to 500,000 in America, and is becoming increasingly more prevalent. The average lifetime cost of treating someone with MS exceeds 1.2 million. Mainstream medicine tells us that there is no cure in sight. And then there is autism, which has surged 7 to 8-fold just in the past 15 years, making this truly a modern-day epidemic. To be sure, hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent on these and other enfeebling brain-related ailments, yet we are seeing precious little progress. Now, for the good news, new, leading-edge science coming from the most well-respected institutions around the world is discovering that to an extraordinary degree, brain health and, on the flip side, brain disease are dictated by what goes on in the gut. That's right. What's taking place in your intestines today is determining your risk for any number of neurological conditions. I realize this may be difficult to comprehend. If you were to ask your doctors about a known cure for autism, MS, depression, or dementia, they would throw up in their arms and say none exist and may never exist. It is here I part company with most, but grateful not all. Of my colleagues, we are neurologists are trained to focus on what goes on in the nervous system, and especially in the brain. In a myopic way, we automatically end up viewing other bodily systems, such as the gastrointestinal tract, as discrete entities. We have no bearing whatsoever on what goes on in the brain. After all, when you have a stomachache, you don't call a cardiologist or neurologist. The entire medical industry is characterized by distinct disciplines divided by the body part or individual system. Most of my colleagues would say, quote, "What happens in the gut stays in the gut," end quote. This perspective is grossly out of touch with current science. The digestive system is intimately connected to what goes on in the brain, and perhaps the most important aspect of the gut that has everything to do with the general wellness and mental health is the internal ecology, the various microorganisms that live within, especially the bacteria.